Hello again. Welcome to another lesson in Algebra 1. Today we are covering section 4.5, graph using slope-intercept form. Okay. Our warm-up, rewrite 5x plus y equal 8 so that y is a function of x. So remember, writing y as a function of x is the same directions as solve for y. Please make sure you can recognize them on quizzes and tests. Don't come up and ask me what that means. Okay. All right, so here I'm just trying to get y by itself, so I'll subtract 5x to both sides. We get y, and then remember 8 and 5x are not like terms, so we cannot add them together. And it's easier if we write the x term first for other things that we do. Okay, so negative 5x plus 8. Now there's no number next to y, so I don't have to do any division to both sides. Number 2, find the slope of a line that passes through negative 5, 6 and 0, 8. So we're going to use our slope formula for 2 points. So the slope is equal to, and I'm going to write the formula out, but you're not required to do it. You could just start with the numbers here. All right, so remember this is 2 points, and points always come x, y. And this is point 1, and this is point 2, or pair 2. So we just take the second y and subtract the first y over top of the second x and subtract the first x. Okay. So 8 minus 6 gives us 2 on top, and 0 minus negative 5 gives me 5 on the bottom. So the slope is 2/5, which means if we knew a point on the line, we could go up 2 and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get a new point on that line. Okay? Find the intercepts of the graph of the function a equals 20t minus 600. So we're looking for the a-intercept. And we're looking for the t-intercept. Okay, so to find the a-intercept, I let t be 0. So I get a equals 20 times 0 minus 600, which means my a-intercept is negative 600. So there's my a-intercept. And to find the t-intercept, we let a be 0. We add 600 to both sides to get 600 equals 20t. And then divide by 20, this will give me 30. So my t-intercept is 30. And let's make that look a little more like 600 there. Okay. Notice I didn't say, 0, 30 or 30, 0, because we're not really sure which way we're going to graph it. Depends on once we choose our axis, who will get the 0 and who gets the, for each one. All right. Slope-intercept form. A linear equation of the form y equals mx plus b is written in slope-intercept form, and you should have seen a lot of this in Math 8 last year, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So we've learned about these guys already. So here's our slope. So the m is 5 over 1. That's our slope. And the y-intercept, we usually label him with a b, is 4. So to graph this is really easy. You take the y-intercept, the starting place, and you put it on the y-axis, okay? And then we use our slope. Now I wrote my slope purposely as 5 over 1. This means I go from this spot, I go 5 up and 1 right. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 over. So from any spot on the graph, any point we know, we just go up 5 and over 1 to get a new point, okay? So there we go. There's our 2 points. We just graph the line that goes between them. All right, so this finishes up our first page. Okay, on our second page, our first directions are to identify the slope and the y-intercept of a line with the given equation. So we're asked to find out what is the m and the b. So remember, we're going to try to write our equation by solving for y, and then the number with the x will be our slope, and the starting place number, the number by itself, will be our y-intercept. So we say, okay, that means our slope is equal to 3, and our y-intercept is equal to 4, because y is already solved for in this problem. So in part B, I'll solve for y first. I'm going to subtract 3x to both sides, so I'll get negative 3x plus 2. And then we can see here, our slope is the number that goes with the x. So we used to call that our changer. So our slope is negative 3 in this case. And the y-intercept is the starting place or the number by itself, that constant term at the end. So our y-intercept is positive 2. Okay. And part C, it's already solved for again. So our slope is the number with the x. So our slope is 1/2. And the y-intercept is the constant term on the end. So our y-intercept is -5. Don't forget the subtraction with the 5. Okay. All right, so graph each equation using the slope-intercept form. So we have two questions here. So we're going to find our slope and our intercept. So for this one, 2 is our slope. We're going to write it as a fraction. It'll help us graph it. So we can always put a 1 underneath. And -5 is our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is our starting place. So we go on the y-axis and we go down 5 spots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we put a big dot there. Okay. And then the slope is our changer. That tells us how to go from one point to another one. So I go up 2 and right 1, up 2 and right 1. So remember the top number is up or down, and the bottom number you should always treat as the positive number and make that always go right. So that's 2 up and 1 to the right, 2 up and 1 to the right, 2 up and 1 to the right. And you can use that to get lots and lots of points across the whole graph. You could see also if you went up 2 and right 1 is the same as down 2 and back 1. So we could fill in these. And then we draw a line through all those points. So without having to make a table, we can graph this line really fast. Y equals 2x minus 5. Okay. Part B gives you a hint. Solve for y first. That way you can know the slope and the y-intercept. So in other words, get y as a function of x. So the first thing I'm going to do is subtract 2x to both sides. So I'll get -2x plus 6. And then I'll divide by 3 to both sides, which gives me -2/3 x, and then plus 2. So that means that our y-intercept, our starting place, is positive 2. So I go to 2 on the y-axis and I put my first point. Okay. It also means that our slope, remember m stands for slope, is -2/3. So that's 2 down and 3 right. So from this blue point that I've already done, I count downwards 2 and right 3. And then from that red point, I could do the same thing. Down 2, right 3. Down 2, right 3. I can also go in reverse, so up 2 and backwards 3, which is to the left, and up 2 and to the left 3, and up 2 and to the left 3. Okay, when I'm done, I have plenty of points to draw a nice straight line through. And we write y, well, actually we write 2x plus 3y equals 6 on it. Okay. All right. Next directions. Identify the slope and the y-intercept of each linear function and then use them to graph the line. So same stuff we were just doing. Our slope is going to be 3/1. The y-intercept is -5. Okay, so I start with -5 on my y-axis, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the up and down, the steepness of my line says go up 3 and right 1 from that point. So I started here, I counted up 1, 2, 3, and moved over 1. And then from the new point I just got, I go up 3 more and right 1, and up 3 more and right 1, and up 3 more and right 1. I could also go from my first point, go down 3 and over 1, and that would give me new points too. So when I'm done, I got all of these points here, and I can draw a line through them. And then I put y equals 3x minus 5. Okay. We do the same thing with number 4. Our slope is the number with the x. That's our steepness value. The y-intercept is our starting place. That's the constant term on the end. Don't forget the negative. So I start at -5 on the y-axis. So I count down on the y-axis 5 spots and put my first red dot there. And then I use my slope, which says from this spot, go up 1 and over 2. So up 1 and over 2 to get new points. Up 1, over 2. Up 1, over 2. So all of our points are going to go through here. Okay, so we get y equals 1/2 x minus 5. So that concludes the second page. We have one left. Okay, so on our last page, we have 2 more of the same problems from the same directions as before. On number 5, I'm going to add plus 0 on the end of here so I can see that my starting place is 0 and my slope is negative 3/2. So I put my first point on 0. And then from this spot, I use my slope, which says go down 3 and right 2. Okay? So from there, I count down 1, 2, 3, and right 2. 1, 2, 3, and right 2, and 1, 2, 3, and right 2. Now I can also go in reverse, which is up 3 and left 2 from my original point, and put some new spots there also. Okay. When I'm done, I've got dots all the way across the whole thing, so I'll draw a line on it, and I've got y equals negative 3/2 x. So remember, whenever one of the pieces is missing, just put a 0 in its spot and it lets you see what's happening. Okay. Number 6, we're going to have to solve for y first, so we'll just divide everything by 2. So divide by 2, divide by 2. This is going to give me 1x minus 4. We don't write the 1, but when we want to put the slope, we are going to put the 1. And we're going to actually make it as a fraction, so 1 over 1. So we have 1 over 1, and we have negative 4. So our first spot goes at negative 4. And then from this spot, we go up 1 and right 1. And we're going to get a bunch of points in the diagonal here. And same as reverse. Go down 1 and left 1. Okay, when you connect them, you're going to get y equals, 2y equals 2x minus 8. And we're done. All right, last little piece here, parallel lines. Two lines are parallel if they have the same slope but different y-intercepts. So in other words, they should have the same steepness. So let's draw two parallel lines, see what they look like. So this line and this line would be parallel. They have the same steepness, so they never cross because they start at different places. So the same slope tells me their steepness value. Maybe this is a slope of 2/3. Then this one would also have a slope of 2/3. And then they have different starting places. So this one started at the origin, and this one started someplace above. Okay. This means they'll never cross, okay, because they're going to keep going up at the same rate and over, and they started in a different place. All right. So determine if each two linear functions of the graph are parallel to each other. So first off, we have two things to check. This would be yes. Number one, they have the same slope. Of 3. And number 2, they have different y-intercepts. Of -4 and -6. So that's a yes because they have the same slope. Both of their slopes are 3. You can see their slopes right here. But they have different y-intercepts. So their y-intercepts are not equal. Okay. All right, before we could do part B here, we got to solve for y. So I'll get 2y equals -x plus 6. Okay. And then I'll divide through by y, and we're going to get -1/2 x, because remember it's a -1 there, plus 3. So are the slopes the same? And this is a yes. Look, -0.5 is the same as -1/2. So this is yes. Both slopes are -1/2, and the y-intercepts are different. Okay? Okay, so one was 4 and one was 3. Okay? Now what happens if the slopes are the same but the y-intercepts are also the same? Well, those aren't parallel lines, they're the same exact line. It's going to go right on top of each other. Okay? So parallel lines must have different y-intercepts. Now, if the slopes are not the same, they're always going to cross somewhere. So any two lines with even slightly different slopes are going to cross. These two lines have different slope, but some point way off our grid here, they'll cross. Okay? All right, I'll see you in class next time. I really suggest that you get started on these two Khan Academy. Identifying slope of a line, and graphing linear equations. Okay, the graphing linear equations will be just like what we did today, and identifying slope of the line is there's a line already there, and you figure out what the slope is. Okay? See you in class next time. Oh, one last thing. These are due at the morning after the next class.